Virtually nobody is ready for what's about to happen in the economy with the House passing a military bill automatically registering men 18 to 26 years old for the draft. War is coming. So what's happening right now in this video that we're going to be discussing today is going to completely change the game with executive orders taking place from Ukraine, Russia sanctions. We're discussing what's been happening over in Russia, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and the Russian central bank. We have a document to share with you guys where all ties are leading back to Ripple. Russia's president confirming that the BRICS is developing their own independent payment system. And according to the document from central banks, will they use XRP? We're getting into all that in this video, alongside Ripple's CBDC objectives and the charts to give you a better understanding of what's about to happen next for the XRP price. Plus the SEC responding to Ripple's letter regarding the consensus judgment in this lawsuit and how you can prepare to make the most amount of money possible. So if you're feeling bullish, comment 777. If you're feeling blessed, comment 777. And if you're going to become the first millionaire in your family tree, confirm it by tapping the subscribe button. Let's run it. All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So the first question that we got to ask is, how did we get here? This is absolutely ridiculous. It's disgusting. 18 to 26 years old for the draft, war coming. I thought we were supposed to be evolving as a species, and it's very clear that the elite of this world, they want to use the youth for their financial gain. And so you have to flip the script and you have to look at things in a way where instead of complaining about it, you got to do something about it. The biggest thing that you can do is educate yourself by watching this video today, because I'm going to share some powerful information with you on what's been happening. So Ukraine and Russia sanctions, if you go on the state.gov, this is the U.S. Department of State, and you read through this. I'm not going to cover this in too much details, but I want to talk about what's going to happen next for the financial world, because this goes back, these sanctions right here, these executive orders being signed since 2014, and you can visit the United with Ukraine page for the most current information on these sanctions. And so let's just have ChatGPT summarize this in one easy to understand paragraph that everyone can understand. So the USA sanctions on Russia are restrictive measures in response to actions like Crimea 2014, interference, they're saying, in the 2016 presidential election. Now, whether that's true or not, I'll let you guys decide. And the invasion of Ukraine in 2022. So the sanctions are targeting various sectors, including finance, energy, defense, and individuals associated with the Russian government. They include asset freezes, travel bans, export controls, and restrictions on doing business with specific Russian entities. And the goal is to pressure Russia economically and diplomatically to comply with international norms and resolve conflicts through negotiation. And that negotiation essentially is do things the USA way or completely get cut off. And so Russia has had to find solutions during these sanctions. And so Vladimir Putin, the president, has been traveling around, going into different meetings. And here you could see him greeted in the UAE and Saudi Arabia on his Middle East visit in December 2023. And this was only his third trip outside the Soviet Union since he invaded Ukraine, following visits to Iran and China to gain more influence in the Middle East. And so he was greeted by the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who said that nothing can prevent the development of our friendly relations. Ahead of the meeting, it was announced that the two would discuss the oil markets, saying that the UAE was Russia's main trading partner in the Arab world, where bilateral trade hit a record $9 billion last year. And Putin said a number of projects were underway in the oil and gas sector. Now, because Russia had to adapt to Western sanctions, thanks to rebounding oil revenues, the solution for them is the most obvious one, and that's to transition away from the petrodollar, because the United States has been able to sanction any country that wants to do business and trade with oil using the US dollar for trade. And so Putin just recently came out and confirmed that the BRICS groups, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, now Saudi Arabia, and their alliance are developing their independent payment system to reduce reliance on existing systems. And so a document from the Russian central bank suggests the group may be considering using XRP for cross-border transactions. And so this is where crypto Twitter went crazy, because in this document right here, during the first half of 2018, the Bank of Russia conducted research on testing the possibility of cross-border settlements using the Ripple platform, where they tested the use of XRP transfers of fiat currencies issued by each participant in the national bank, use of embedded cryptographic solutions on the Ripple network, development of a procedure for determining cross rates for international currency of Ripple's XRP when deciding to use XRP in interstate settlements, and maintaining correspondent directories between the addresses of the accounts of the Ripple network participants and the accounts of the banks they serve in national payment systems. That was in 2018. What's happening in 2024?
Within BRICS, we're working on shaping an independent payment system free from political pressure, abuse, and external sanctional interference. In this regard, I'd like to remind you that this year, BRICS was joined by new participants, that is, Saudi Arabia, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Ethiopia. With this, the share of our association in global GDP has reached 36%. And the population of the planet has reached 45%. And BRICS has tremendous potential for joining of new participants, and such drive of stakeholders from different continents can only be welcomed by us, and will support it.
So Putin's been emphasizing that the BRICS nations' goal is creating a payment system free from political influence and external control and sanctions. And so with the research paper suggesting that the BRICS group might utilize XRP to facilitate cross-border payments, well, if that were to happen, we're talking about trillions of dollars flowing through the XRP ledger, because when you look at the GDP comparison of the G7 versus the BRICS, he's saying that they're over like 30 trillion or something like that, or 30%. When you look at G7 is 45.9 trillion total. I mean, this was in 2023. So the BRICS nations are even more today. And then you look at the rest of the world with $28.9 trillion. With new members joining the BRICS like Saudi Arabia, Argentina, UAE, Egypt, Iran, Ethiopia. Guys, a lot of the central banks and the largest banks in these countries are already working with Ripple or Ripple's subsidiaries in some way, shape, or form. So it's only a matter of time. And Russia intends to perform its first cross-border payments using the digital ruble in the second half of 2025, and they've been testing it for the past few years. Now, obviously, they're not going to announce everything publicly to the masses, because why would they reveal their cards that the United States can see? They're going to keep a lot of this a secret. So what we can do is connect the dots together to discover the information that current elected leaders and officials and central bank owners and hedge fund managers are on NDAs for, which are non-disclosure agreements, meaning they can't talk about this stuff. So that's why we uncover this information, then let you jump to your own conclusions, because we only talk about facts on this channel. I'm not a financial advisor. You should always consult your financial advisors. Crypto is very, very risky. You can lose money in these markets, and these videos are purely for information, educational purposes only, so always do your own research. But if we look right here at Ripple's CBDC objectives, in the Middle East, in North Africa, the MENA, oil exporters, and Gulf Cooperation Council countries, the motivation for exploring CBDCs is to make payments more efficient, both domestically and cross-border. For example, Qatar in the United Arab Emirates, the Central Bank of United Arab Emirates in 2023, in contrast, the top priority in Central Asia is to increase financial inclusion, improving payment systems efficiently, and promoting innovation in financial technology. So in Table 1, you can see the key CBDC objectives by country group, where you can see the MENA oil exporters, the oil importers, low-income countries, council countries, and emerging markets, and what they're planning on doing to make payments more efficient cross-border, domestically, broadening access to payments, and increasing financial inclusion. And when you look at the source right here, it's not Joe Schmo putting this together, it's the IMF on a survey they did directly to the country's teams. So over in the Middle East and North Africa, which is one of the largest areas where the BRICS nations do business, Ripple has its hands in. So it's obvious at this point, Ripple and XRP are going to play a big part in this. Now, the real question is when, not if. Well, we need to look at the DXY, the US dollar, in comparison to other countries, and we need to bring up some indicators here to understand, when the dollar could possibly see a trend reversal. Because if you look at the MACD right here, when these bearish crosses took place well above the zero line, the first one we can see back in 1985 was all the way up here at like 7.7, and the dollar just plummeted relative to other countries. The next time after that was May of 2001. You see this bearish cross. The time after that was all the way back here in about March of 2016. And then the most recent bearish cross on the monthly MACD was in February of 2000, give or take like a month or two. It's not exact, but if I were to zoom in, we could get exact for you guys. I just want you to get the bigger, broader picture here of what this means, because in a bearish cross on the MACD, it means the momentum is shifted from bullish to bearish. And so we just saw a bearish cross take place recently, so the momentum is shifting, and eventually the DXY is going to run out of steam, and we're going to see a trend reversal to the downside and a break of this ascending support right here at some point. Now, also, we can look on the RSI. We could see where the relative strength index was during those bearish cross periods, and you can see every single one of them was at 70 or above 70 or even above 80. And if we look at these periods when we were below 30 on where the DXY was, it was relatively undervalued compared to countries, and it was good to be getting into the dollar. So very simple, when we're at 30 or below 30 for any asset, any commodity, even the dollar, it's a good time, no financial advice, but just based on facts, to back up the truck for the dollar when we're down here, because we don't stay below 30 on the monthly forever. Whereas when we're above 70 on the monthly or even above 80, it's a time arguably to be getting out of the dollar and be putting your money into other assets. And so with this bearish cross taking place, we could see the dollar do relatively well the rest of this year or just consolidate sideways. But as you can see here, it's only a matter of time, because as we get closer to this apex, we're going to break in either one of two directions. And obviously with the printing of the Federal Reserve, with inflation as high as it is, with the BRICS nations leaving the dollar, the GDP growing for the BRICS compared to the G7, on top of China and other major countries selling US bonds, backing up the truck for things like precious metals like gold, the most likely case scenario is for the DXY to eventually break down and trade to the downside. Now, when that happens, what I would expect to take place is for the MACD to see a continuation of the downtrend as well too, for the RSI to see a continuation into the downside, and eventually for us to come back down near 30, and for the MACD and the signal line to go below the zero line. Now, if this happens, what would this mean for XRP? Well, it's extremely bullish, because as the value of the dollar decreases relative to other countries' currencies, that money moves elsewhere. And it moves either into real estate, it moves into precious metals, it moves into other commodities, it moves into stocks, it moves into crypto. And so with XRP underperforming this past year, only up 2% compared to other cryptocurrencies, sitting at 48 cents right now, rather than just assuming XRP is going to go up, we need to look at the facts, because the facts are having a diversified portfolio in the crypto space has been proven to be the smartest move, because other crypto assets have outperformed XRP, but the facts also show that we've been here before, and this is just a long drawn out consolidation period for XRP. If you look all the way back from November of 2015 until March of 2017, if I were to trace the chart up from that time period to where we are today, it's almost identical. Obviously, there's some key differences here, but we see the bear market and we see this consolidation period for XRP where it just struggles to break out. And we see this last final sell-off below this ascending support right here, very similar to what we're seeing right now. We're seeing this sell-off below this ascending support that goes back to June of 2022, comparable to where we were right here for this stage in the market. So we're getting very, very close. And coincidentally enough, if you look for confluence between technical and fundamental analysis, it's very interesting how 2025 is the main year that, the ISO standard, Russian central banks, CBDCs, regulations coming into play. And even by the end of this year, nearing into election, we're going to see a lot of regulations start to pop out. We're going to see a lot of things happen within the financial system. And we're about right here on the charts as well, too. Now, another interesting thing to know is this lawsuit is about to come to a close. And with regulatory clarity for XRP, what does that mean for central banks, guys, around the world, specifically in the United States? Well, that's massively bullish, because the SEC responding to Ripple's letter regarding the Terraform Labs consensus judgment, and it appears the SEC is asking for a $102 million settlement fine, which is a huge change from the original $2 billion that they were asking for. So who knows if they'll even get $100 million, because applying it to the $876.3 million in gross profits, the SEC here asked the court to disgorge results in a much larger figure, $102 million penalty, than the $10 million ceiling Ripple insists on. So Ripple only wants to pay about $10 million. The SEC wants them to pay $100 million. So they're going to probably meet somewhere in the middle, maybe around like 20 million, 30, 40, maybe $50 million. I don't know exactly how much it's going to be. That's up for the judge to decide. But Brad Garlinghouse thinks that the SEC versus Ripple settlement is going to happen this summer. So when we go back to the chart here, let's look for some key things, because we don't know when the judge will come out and give that settlement announcement. It'll just happen and then everyone will get the news on that. So we need to prep for that by looking at the chart. So what we're looking at right here on the MACD is a downtrend after this bearish cross took place in August of 2023. Now, going back to the past, we saw this bearish cross happen on November of 2016, and we also see this downtrend right around this period, just like we saw from August of 2023 to where we are today. Also on the relative strength index back in 2016, we could see this downtrend right here where XRP got all the way down to 40. And then when the breakout started happening from like 0.005 and XRP just erupted with this God candle right here, we saw the RSI go all the way upwards of 96. So look at the right-hand side of the screen and look at what's happening on the RSI. We're in this downtrend right now, and the RSI is sitting at 41. So historically, on the monthly, when we've gotten near 40 or below 40, even if we go lower than that as XRP continuously trends to the downside, eventually what I think will happen, because there's just too much obvious news, not just bullish news, guys, obvious news about Ripple, XRP that I've been covering for the past year on the channel, that the MACD eventually is going to see a bullish cross below the zero line. Now, the further below the zero line, the more bullish the reversal signal, but it doesn't necessarily need to be that far below the zero line, because as you can see back here in March of 2017, we weren't that far below the zero line when we saw a bullish cross, and we just saw the MACD absolutely erupt, the price erupt, the RSI erupt, and look what happened on the MACD on the left-hand side of the screen. We went well above the zero line, and then when we saw the next bearish cross take place, where was the price for XRP? Well, it was all the way up here at 39 cents. It went up to 40 cents and then traded sideways, saw a sell-off. Once the bearish cross took place, XRP was at 13 cents. And so nobody knows exactly where the top of XRP is going to be. But one thing we do know is that the best time to buy anything is when we're in oversold conditions. Now, there is no best price. There's just the best zones to look for, the best buy zones and the best sell zones. And that's based on key indicators. And so we look for bullish crosses below the zero line on the MACD. We look for the RSI to get closer and closer to 30. The closer to 30, the better. Even under 30 is the best. We might not even go down that far before we see a reversal. And as this lines up with the settlement happening and the judge coming out and making an announcement on how much Ripple's going to pay for this lawsuit, around that news to happen, I would expect some bullish price action for XRP to take place, just like what happened when XRP was declared not a security on the secondary market. XRP's price went from 46 cents to 93 cents, and sure, the price was sold off right away. So depending on how much liquidity flows into XRP, maybe we go to $1.30. I don't know. I would expect there to see some form of consolidation and sell-off on that news, as people that have been holding for such a long period of time, that even bought all the way up here in these levels during the bear market, would take some profits there. So there's going to be some selling pressure for XRP, definitely, but overall, long-term, by the end of 2025, which isn't even long-term. When we talk about long-term, we're talking about decades, not just 1 to 2 years here. But long-term, you know what we're doing. We're backing up our truck all the way to the bank, grabbing the bags, packing them and stacking them, leaving no bags left behind, because we believe the spending power of the dollar is going down in value. That's a fact based on inflation. Blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology, and cryptocurrencies have been going up in value. That's the truth. And together, we're all going camping on the beaches of the moon. So if you're ready to become the first millionaire in your family tree with crypto, and you want to get early access to our underground guidebook to become a crypto millionaire when it's released, then all you need to do right now is go to bullrunners.com, and you're going to get exclusive early access to alerts on explosive altcoins with timely notifications about high potential projects before they hit the mainstream market. You're also going to get access to daily market analysis videos, where you can watch daily videos like this to stay up to date on the latest trends and updates in the cryptocurrency market. And you're also going to receive pro trading strategies and tools for you to access proven trading tips and institutional grade indicators to refine your trading strategy. Now, on the launch of our new underground guidebook called Altcoin Secrets, that's going to help you discover the next 100x altcoin. All you need to do to get early access is go to bullrunners.com, click the button on the page, put in your best email address, and you'll be instantly subscribed for the early bird list when it's released. We know you're going to love it.